welcome, Guy. Thank you very much for joining us today and talking to us all about hospitality technology. If you could please go ahead and introduce yourself and Rotana for us, that would be wonderful.
Certainly. My name is Guy Hutchinson. I'm the president and CEO of Rotana Hotels and Resorts. We're a company based out of the Middle East, but with a presence all across Africa into Eastern Europe. Portfolio is around 130 properties across 6 brands. We're the leading hospitality company in the Middle East and probably one of the fastest growing out of this region.
Excellent, and one that Thynk is incredibly proud and excited to be a partner of. Guy, I'm going to start by actually asking you a bit of a future thinking question, and asking you, what do you feel hospitality, particularly related to technology, will look like in around the next 5 to 10 years, based on the impact of the technologies we're seeing right now?
Yeah, certainly. I think hospitality, for various reasons, perhaps has been, as an industry, not the fastest adapted to technology, but we're certainly starting to see that needle move a little bit. And for us, how we envisage it is we really see that integration as being something critical to the future. But how we see it and what we think we will see is you will see a greatly enhanced customer journey. I think the real advantage that technology is providing is the ability to remove bottlenecks, the ability to move traditional pain points in the journey of the customer through hospitality, be that pre-arrival and the commercial process through to arrival and stay and then departure, and depending on how you're experiencing that property. I think that adoption of technology is going to create a vastly enriched journey for the customer through technology, and allowing the customer and the guest to choose when they want that human contact and to optimize that and not be bogged down in process and systems which just cause pressure points during those various processes. So it's going to be very much a customer-centric space and give guests the opportunity to pick and choose when they want that human interaction, but be painless everywhere else.
And so that's very much the guest experience. How do you feel the internal side of hospitality will kind of gain the benefit of that future thinking impact as well?
And the biggest opportunity, I think, for hospitality, and certainly something which has been at the core of our own digital strategy, is integrations. Typically the way that hospitality has been built out is with large-scale global systems providers that create very specific silos in your business, be it a finance process or a procurement process or property management system or reservation systems. Hospitality companies were kind of saddled with these solutions that were large scale, high cost, but with really minimal integration, real integration. There might have been an interface where you can post a bill, but in terms of real physical active integration, extremely limited. And I think, the space that we're all moving towards now is to have a very different outlook and a very different strategy to how to deploy technology, focused on integration and focused on multiple or single systems that really have the ability to simplify processes, reduce the need for manual interaction, to interface or create interfaces and reporting between different systems, and provide that seamless visibility and that seamless functionality across the various functions, be it human resources, procurement, payroll, finance systems, reservation system, property management systems.
Fantastic. A very exciting future I think we've got ahead of us in the industry. Yeah. So kind of on the back of that, I'd like to talk about specifically staff empowerment. As you just mentioned, integrations and kind of seamless procedures is key to helping staff essentially do their jobs efficiently. So how do you feel technology helps hospitality staff feel more empowered and efficient today, especially as we see a new generation of staff coming into the industry on the back of the turbulent times of the pandemic?
I think it's absolutely critical. Going back to what I said a little bit earlier about technology and integrations, removing these pain points, right? We're creating within administration a more seamless process and enabling a customer journey that's different. If you look at traditionally the pain points that hospitality companies measure, within the top 2 or 3 is always arrival, is always departure, right? So when you look at your guest service feedback that comes out of guests, these are always points which are highlighted: accuracy of bill, time to check in, time to check out, and behind that is an employee, behind that is a colleague, is a team member who's having to manage those environments, manage those systems, and then being focused on administration instead of focused on the guest. If you remove a lot of those pain points, if you empower guests, and if you empower staff through technology to enable all of those processes, there's no reason why a guest now needs to stand in a queue to check into a hotel, or stand in a queue to check out of a hotel, or wait 20 minutes for somebody in room service to order a hamburger, or a drink at a pool, or get their bill or a proposal for an event. And when you move the onerous aspects of those systems, of the onerous aspects of those processes, and you empower staff to actually do what really matters, which is talk to their guests, talk to their colleagues, focus on the quality of the sell, right? Convert customers, provide service, talk to guests. And then you're really, really completely empowering a hospitality environment in a different way.
Fantastic, thank you. So that leads me really nicely into the next question, which is relating to technology specifically. What do you feel is the biggest change needed in hospitality today?
For me, it's absolutely integrations. And you're seeing this in other spaces and other platforms. I mean, the likes of technology providers, the way that between their applications is just seamlessly enabled for a guest. You buy a new device in 10 seconds, you've got your database, you've got your contacts, you link to your TV. This whole experience of how your environment is completely integrated. I think this is fundamental to hospitality, and where we're perhaps a little bit behind and we need to accelerate our development. It's breaking away from, this system does this, and this system does that, and the property management system does this, and your profile is here, and your reservation system is here, and your rate and distribution is there, and finance, and HR, it's all there. And then how do we build an interface? And how do we talk to a new technology provider that we want to talk to? Do they have the interface to be able to cope with our finance system? So all of this, the siloed nature of how technology is developed, typically in hospitality.
Yeah,
we want to see that broken out and be able to have, why isn't there at some point a reservation system which will manage a room, provide a bill, give a payroll detail to, finance, and allow a room service order or restaurant order to be billed to a guest room. So we need that, a much bigger focus on integration in terms of how we manage our processes, just to be much more efficient and to be much more customer friendly.
Absolutely. And as on the back of those integrations and the ability to kind of almost press a button and have a process go from start to end, you have more time and focus on your guests at the end of the day.
And I think the companies to do this will get advantage.
I feel that that's probably answered my next question, but just in case it hasn't, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one of your biggest technology problems, maybe something other than integrations, what would it be? Or what would be the magic integration, I suppose, maybe is the question.
Yeah, I think it's definitely within the same theme. I think, one of the reasons why, we shouldn't maybe say this out loud, but one of the things which turned the light bulb on for us when we were talking initially to Thynk and looking at them as a particular partner for our business is, that seamless transition between the various processes, extremely intuitive, and there was clearly thought put into how do we integrate a sales process with a catering process, with a customer profile. It gave already a large integration space, and we want to see more and more of this, more and more providers who are focused in this space, but doing it in a way that's reasonably cost effective to provide, and Thynk really fits with the culture of our business because they brought that intuitiveness, that integration aspect to the table with us. So this is really, really probably at the forefront of our thinking. I want a human resources app to integrate with the guest app, to integrate with a finance system. We want our colleagues to be able to have transparency through that process. So really for me, it's about how we evolve this middleware piece, the service bus conversation, to really create that proper holistic environment. I think it's been at the front of our mind for the last 5 or 6 years in terms of how we've built out our digital strategy to grow. We don't want silos and individual systems. How do we create symbiosis? How do we create an ecosystem where we have a digital strategy where we're able to plug and play startups, best in class, typically for a hospitality company to integrate new technology, who else does it? And why aren't we taking startups? And we want the ability to do this, but our initial environment sometimes can be very rigid, which restricts your ability to do that. So for us, it's just the concept of digital agility.
I love that, and that's actually, again, all your answers are leading beautifully into my next questions. So looking at specifically around digital agility, startups, and working with kind of the forefront thinkers, no pun intended there, but what inspires you about the innovations you're seeing at the moment in the industry, and who do you see as kind of an innovator in the market?
It's an excellent question, because I don't think there's too many innovators in our industry.
Sadly, I think you're right.
I think, the industry is still contained within quite a rigid framework from an IT infrastructure perspective. In some spaces, I understand that, because when you're trying to maintain a global network, a huge global network of X thousand hotels, the framework you need around that is a little bit more complicated. So in a way, I understand it. It gives opportunity to smaller firms like Rotana, because we're able to embrace that agility much more quickly and much more easily. We don't have to think about, dealing with tax law in Japan and Australia and the US. So we might have a little bit more flexibility in the way we're able to look at it. I think the smaller companies like us are going to be at the forefront of that, because we can be faster, we can be more agile, and maybe the framework we have to manage doesn't have some of the complexities that some of the larger multinational hotel companies do. But equally, decision-making process and focus and strategy is an important part of it. And you have to want to do it, right? For us, we want to be able to integrate startup. We want to be able. We don't want a traditional, digital framework. We want to be able to bring disruptors into it. You can see around the world businesses that have taken advantage, perhaps, of the lack of flexibility or structure that hospitality companies have traditionally laid out. And there's plenty of people who've sat down, thought it out, and come up with solutions that have gained them a lot of market share. So we definitely have to speed this up. But I think perhaps smaller companies like us will be the companies that will lead the way.
I have to agree with you there, and it is one of the main reasons why Thynk in particular is so excited to work with companies like yourselves around the world and try and push forward those innovations to make these agility changes as there were. So on that, let's pivot towards the relationship between Rotana and Thynk. You did touch on it slightly a couple of questions ago, but why did I'll rephrase this question. What were the pain points and the changes you were looking to implement that led you to joining the Thynk family, as it were?
Yeah. So we've circled around the subject of sales CRM for a number of years. And we honestly never committed, because we never really came across something which we believed was the right solution. I think if you look at the sales processes around hospitality and hotels specifically, in terms of how sales relationships are managed, and then as an extension of that, how perhaps sales and catering relationships are managed with the booking of meeting space and other things. It's a really traditional process. Sometimes it's frustrating because it just hasn't evolved in probably 100 years.
Yeah.
And frankly speaking, it's a weakness from my perspective in industry. I've worked in 12 countries around the world in my career, and honestly have almost never seen it done well. It's just not a space that has had perhaps the right level of focus, the right level of attention, and the right level of kind of integration. So, what we had seen presented to us as a sales CRM space, and then as an add-on module, the managing of catering and meeting spaces, were solutions which reflected the really traditional way in which hotels and hospitality looked at their business, how they managed their business, how they handled transactions, and then, as an add-on, perhaps there was a sales and catering model or not. And these solutions were extremely expensive and based on processes that were extremely outdated. So
the norm, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah. So there was nothing, even if you put the cost that was associated with some of those systems to one side, there was nothing in what was presented to us where we saw any value add to our business. Yes. So a transition which might be slightly manually orientated today might be automated, but it didn't fundamentally give us anything new to work with, didn't give us anything which we could evolve into competitive advantage. So even if it was sort of cost effective, it wasn't a solution for us because we didn't really see any real value add in moving forward with it. Thynk was the first system that we saw that reflected for us a new take, a slightly different perspective on, and it may be a more forward-thinking perspective on how to look at managing those relationships, and then the ability to take that equally into a sales and catering model, and we saw that as it's next level in terms of how intuitive the system is, and how it actually reflects a far better customer-oriented process with the CRM space, and then integrates seamlessly into how to hold book space availability, produce quality offers for guests. So for me, I think sometimes in simple tranches, but the ability for a sales manager to do a sales call, sit in a cafe, have a cup of coffee, complete your sales notes, book space, send a proposal to a guest, and do that in 30 minutes. This is in this space, it's groundbreaking, because most hotels struggle to get an offer to a guest in 4 hours.
Well, it's back to staff empowerment, isn't it?
It's staff empowerment, and I think one of the golden rules in this space has always been, speed of response, the ability to get back to guests, not just quickly, but quality, in the right way, structure the right way, language correct, an offer which is clear. Just these sound like real fundamentals, but if you take 15 commercial offers from 15 hotels, trust me, probably 14 of them you'll just throw away because it's impossible to read. So, that simplification of the process, that sort of how intuitive the system was, from day one, although I kept my poker face. We were pretty excited by it when we saw it, and we see that as building into our sales teams, real advantage in a space which is not very well handled by industry on a global basis.
So on the back of that and how it fits in with your teams and into your kind of brand strategy and technology plan, how does Thynk fit?
Perfectly. When we sit and look at the architecture of how we want to build our digital ecosystem. Thynk fits in there extremely well, because we've even started to talk about using it for our development team.
Fantastic.
Because there's a space, when you see how that works, there's a space for your traditional sales environment, there's a space for sales and catering, but we can see the potential also for our development team to work with the process. So we see it as something which has a solid future. We see it as something which is going to develop together with us. We see it as something that is going to evolve together with our business and continue to integrate into our environment in a way that's going to give us value and competitive advantage.
And looking into those future metrics and how you feel that you're going to see some success factors and ROI based on the back of the partnership with Thynk, what are you kind of hoping to see as you move forward with us as a technology partner?
If you look at it at just a very simple level, or an entry level, the quality of connectivity that it's going to build into our sales forces, our sales teams, not just the sales teams that are on property dealing with either managed business or sales and catering businesses, but also the integration then with our global sales office or our network of global sales offices around the world. And I think the connectivity that it's going to build within those sales teams, the points of data that it's going to deliver to us, the quality and speed and intuitiveness of response we're going to be able to deliver to our customers, I think it's going to accelerate our performance substantially. And if we use it the right way, because it's only as good as how we use it, we see it as a really important tool to drive our market share.
That's fantastic. That is everything I have for you today, Guy. Thank you so much for joining us and bringing us these amazing insights. I think Rotana is clearly one to watch and an innovator in the industry. We're, as I said, very proud to be a technology partner with you, and we can't wait to see how our relationship is going to just thrive moving forward.
We look forward to it too.